Hey everybody, welcome to video number 28 in the UE5 vehicle tutorial series. In the last video, we re-imported the vehicle mesh inside of Blender to separate the wheels. And also, I showed you how to create the different paint material slots for the customization menu. Now, today it's time to re-add the wheels, but this time we'll do it in the blueprint. So right now, let me show you what that looks like. So the car is just hovering. Obviously you can still use the vehicle all the same. It just looks a bit funny, I think. And as you can see, I don't remember which number the video was, but if you've watched the advanced rigging tutorial, you have functional calipers. You can see they follow the discs. Now you get an error because the construction script cannot find a material slot to apply the wheel color to. That is perfectly fine. This is exactly what we're going to fix. So, exporting the wheels separately, as you saw in video 27, I've re-imported them in the common folder under wheels and meshes. And as you can see, I've got all the wheels here for all the vehicles. And so we'll be able to apply these wheels to any vehicles we want in the game. Now, if you remember properly, if you even watched it, last video I told you to export those wheels and basically scale them up to have a radius of 0.5 meter. And that's going to be important in this video to scale them properly to the vehicle we're attaching them to. Because in the vehicles, I'll take the Porsche for example. In the setup folder, you know, when you set up a vehicle, you create those wheel blueprints. And they have a radius value in them. This one is 35. And so we'll use that for each wheel in the construction script to scale the wheel meshes to match the right size here, so they don't clip through the ground or anything. Also, worth noting, I have imported those meshes as skeletal meshes. For those of you who didn't already know that, you don't need an actual skeleton to import a mesh as a skeletal mesh. As you can see here, when I imported the first one, it created a skeleton, which I've called a skeleton wheel. And it's just one bone. It's the root bone is the name of the object in Blender. And then I just selected that skeleton for every wheel I've imported. It's very simple, and the reason I did that is in a future video I will be using morph targets on those wheels to allow you not only to scale them but also to adjust the tire thickness by making the wheel bigger without affecting the overall radius of the wheel. So you can tell here the Chiron has pretty slim tires. If we look at, for example, the one from the not the Porsche, yeah, how about the ones from the Savannah? You can see here the tires are much thicker, and they could be even thicker than that for a classic car or, you know, a pickup truck. And so we will be creating morph targets to adjust the size of the wheel to give you access to controlling the thickness of the tire. And for that we need a skeletal mesh. You can't have morph targets on a static mesh. And so I went ahead and I did that up front, so I wouldn't have to redo the whole thing afterward. Okay, now what we need to do is open up our vehicle master class. In my case, this is the Porsche blueprint. And if you haven't watched my other videos, or it was just too long ago and you forgot, what I mean by your master class is the first vehicle that you've created in your project that every vehicle is a child of. So you can see here the Porsche, its parent class is just wheeled vehicle pawn. If you look at any other vehicle, the parent class is the Porsche 911. If you click here the magnifying glass, you'll select it in the content browser. And so because we want the changes we're about to make to affect every vehicle, we want to do those in the Porsche. So head on here to the viewport. We are going to create 4 new skeletal meshes. Wow, I cannot type anymore. Skeletal mesh. And we're going to name them SM wheel front left, for example. I'll try to respect the same order as I've set them up here in the wheel setup. So front right, front left. Okay. Oh, come on. Let me rename it. Front right. We will select a static mesh here. So any wheel we've imported. I'll select the Porsche. And I will attach that. So here you see in the with the skeletal mesh selected, you have a parent socket option, which you can click here, wheel front right. Now as you can see, we will need to rotate that 180 degrees. And it also is pretty massive, but we'll fix that in a minute. So duplicate it to the front left. Set its rotation to 0. Now those aren't going to be simulating physics by default. Let me close some of those. Okay, so simulate physics you see is unticked, and you can't even tick it. They don't have a physics asset. I've deleted it. Also in the terms of collisions, they have none. And this is perfect. This is what you want. As you could see, the wheels have absolutely no purpose in the vehicle simulation. They're only visual. So now, as you can see, they're way too big, obviously, but they are attached properly to the skeletal mesh. So all that's left to do now is to scale them to the proper size, like I've mentioned, using the wheel blueprint that you've got assigned to the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll have to reapply the wheel materials to those again in the construction script. Also, before we do that, we are going to collapse some things to functions, because we'll be triggering those from other places in the graph in the main menu. So go ahead here, and after the cast to the game instance, this here is setting the primary paint color. So right click it, collapse to function, set primary paint color. Then this one here is going to be setting the secondary paint color. And this one is going to set the wheel color. And the reason this is important is because we won't be able to display the vehicle mesh in the menu anymore. We will need to display the vehicle blueprint because we just removed the wheels and added them back to the vehicle in the blueprint. We can't just be displaying the mesh anymore. And so we'll have to apply the colors to the vehicle blueprint from the menu instead of just changing them directly on the mesh. So that's why I want these to be functions, so I can actually call those functions from the menu by just giving them a value. Okay, now before we do the check for the game instance, we'll be handling the wheel stuff in front of it here, because we don't need a game instance to tell us the size of the wheels. We're going to determine that right here. And so we want that to happen even if there is no game instance, like in the editor, for example. So we'll just make a bit of room here, like so. Okay, so what we want to do is grab the vehicle component here. We want to cast it to wheeled vehicle movement component. Now this doesn't really make sense because this is already a vehicle movement component. So why do we need to cast it? Is because, for example, here get wheel doesn't yield any results. Yet if I do the same from after the cast, you can see we have a lot of options, such as engine rotation speed, which is the RPM. And actually, if you remember properly, we do that very same thing on big and play, and we promote it to a variable so that we can use it in the graph anywhere to get things like the RPM. But since we do that on event big and play, sorry, we're not going to be able to access that variable here in the event construct. So or in the construction script, sorry. So from the wheels, for each loop, we are going to want to get the wheel radius. Because you see here, when you get the array of wheels, the output of that is the chaos vehicle wheel object, which is the wheel blueprint you've created in the setup process. So this is, here for the Porsche, this is going to return 35, okay? And we know for a fact that our wheels are 50. And so we just need to use that to scale it. So for each wheel, we'll grab the index here. So let's say we just grab one of the wheels and set scale. So set relative scale 3D. We are going to right click it and split it because we will not be affecting the Y scale. And so we will create an array of these. Well, not really an array, but sort of. We'll use a select node and we'll plug the array in it. The array, I can't talk either. We'll plug the array index here. And so basically we know this array will output the wheels in a specific order, which is this order here. So that'll be front right, then front left, then rear right, nope, sorry, rear left, and then lastly rear right. No, actually, let's leave that up top here. Okay, so the first time that this is executed, it'll do it for the first, second, third, and fourth wheel, respectively. And so the wheel radius here, we'll use a float divide node. We know the wheel has a radius of 50, and here's the radius we want it to have. And that is how much we have to scale the wheel by to get the proper radius. Oh, and y should be 1, of course. Yeah, okay, that's normal. That's for the wheels. Oh, oh, oh. Nope, that is the wrong place to plug this, sorry. You should plug that here after the array is completed. Still nothing though. Let's add here a little print string and figure out why this isn't working. Oh. Hmm. Okay, I got this backward, first of all. Okay, it is returning 0 for some reason. It shouldn't. Okay, never mind. I did some research and actually did some testing of my own. I pasted this variable here for the wheel radius on event tick, and it took quite a bit of time before this variable stopped returning 0. So yeah, for some reason we can't use that variable in event in the construction script or even on beg and play really. It takes probably like 0.3 seconds or so before that value is non-zero. And so unfortunately we're gonna have to create our own float variables for this, which I really didn't want to be doing, because that's gonna be pretty tedious to set those for every vehicle in the project, and also because we might in the future want to be able to change the radius of the wheels. So, but hey, we need this to work right now. So I guess here in the variable tab for the vehicle, we're gonna have to add 2 floats. One for the front and one for the rear, because pretty often those two might be different. So front wheel radius, duplicate for rear wheel radius. This is one of the many reasons why it's so painful to work with chaos vehicles. So there you have it, just one more reason. And we are gonna have to do a select here, because for the first 2 ones we want to use the front, and after that we want to use the rears. So here, if it's greater than 1, no, Boolean. If it's greater than 1, meaning 2 or 3 in our case, we are going to use the rear. If not, we use the front. There you go. I kind of hate that I have to do this, but it has to be done, I guess. I'll give him some default values, then we're gonna go ahead and open every vehicle blueprint and change them. Now before I do that, before I actually go ahead and open every vehicle blueprint in the project, and the way I'm gonna do this is really just to open the front and rear wheels and just check the radius and set the variables. So this is the front, 35. Let me confirm the rear is the same, 37. See? So rear wheel radius here should be 37. Okay. And then we'll fix the error with the wheel color here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab the material of any of the wheels, really. Doesn't matter, because it's all going to be the same. And then can we actually apply this material instance on every mesh instead of running this 4 times, once for each wheels? Oh, I guess I can. Yes, I can. Okay. And now I know the material slot name is rim. Can I actually do that for all the meshes at the same time? Oh, this is so cool. Yes. We just saved a bunch of time. It's nice sometimes when things just work. Oh, turns out it doesn't work. Oh, never mind. Rims, plural. There you go. Beautiful. And also no more errors. Great. Okay, now I'll cut the video again and do this tedious work for every single vehicle. You don't need to see that, really. You know how to do it now. So just go ahead and do that for every vehicle, setting these 2 variables. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, now that I've done all the vehicles in the project, I've I've made those values here to match the wheel data. Now what's left to do is to create a data asset for the wheels that will contain things like thumbnail and obviously the wheel mesh for now. Eventually we'll want to add more to that, like oh, I don't know, tire friction, things like that. But right now we're just going to focus on the aesthetics. So let's go ahead here in the vehicle common folder, go into the wheels, and we will create, much like we did for the vehicles themselves, we will create a blueprint, which is a primary data asset. And we're going to call this one PDA wheels. In it, we're going to have only 2 variables, one for the thumbnail and one for the wheel mesh. That thumbnail, if I recall properly, was a texture 2D. Texture 2D object reference. There you go. And for the mesh, skeletal mesh. Yes, skeletal mesh object reference. I will give it a default value, just so we don't leave it empty. And for the thumbnail, I forgot to create thumbnails. I guess I'll create one right now, just so I have one. I'll create the rest of them off camera. That'll be render target texture, render target. There you go. You know what? 256 by 256 is plenty enough. Huh? Is that a BSP? No, that's a landscape. We're gonna hide the landscape. And now, as you can see, we have a thumbnail. Let's go ahead and capture every tick. Okay, capture every frame is already there, that's good. Capture source, scene color, HDR, and RGB, and scene depth in A. That is the one I used for the thumbnails. Now if you go here into the content browser, you can right click and create static texture, which we're gonna call, how about thumbnail wheel Chiron. Cool. And for now, we're just gonna leave that here because I'll be using it for the others as well. I'm not sure actually. Let me go back into the UI material for the right. Let me just here make sure my thumbnails are correct. Good. Okay. Yeah, I use that here to remove the background and make transparent thumbnails. Okay. So with that new thumbnail created, let's go back here into our PDA. Select it. Okay. Now we will need to again create a data asset. So blueprint. Okay. It's not gonna let me create a data asset. So let's just go back to a miscellaneous data asset and then choose our PDA wheels. Now we'll have to create one for every mesh or every wheel we want. So let me open that up into another content browser. Actually, I'll need one for the She-Run too, so. I'll just leave this one the default. Nope, actually. Never mind. Okay. Sorry this is taking forever, but it's gonna be worth it, I promise. Okay, so now we have a data asset for every single wheel that's available in the game. We have a, let's say we have a thumbnail for all of them, although we only have one right now. And after that would be the vehicle PDA. Now we have the brand here. We have the display mesh, the display mesh offset, all of that, the vehicle class. We are going to add we're going to have wheels. This one here is going to be our PDA wheels, object reference, and it is going to be an array. And I'm making it an array because I want to be able to select for every vehicle a list of wheels that you can install on it. So that you can't, let's say, take the wheels of the Chiron and install them on the Supra or whatever, and vice versa. And like the Mercedes CLK has some really special wheels, which won't really fit any other vehicle. So I'll show you what I mean by that. The CLK is right here. As you can see, it doesn't really have a bolt pattern. So pretty much the CLK, you're only going to have this wheel available for it, and this wheel won't be available for any other vehicle. And so that's why I'm creating an array of data asset for the wheels. And now we are finally ready to start on the UI. But I think I will keep that for the next video, because that video has been long enough already, and now at least you have wheels back on your vehicles, which is kind of a big deal. As you can see here, if I go back into the game instance and select, for example, the Chirons, you can see the wheels are pretty massive on that thing, so gotta be careful what kind of vehicle you install those on. From inputting the assets, what I've noticed is the smallest wheels in the project are going to be 31 centimeters radius, and the biggest one on the Chiron are 40 centimeter radius. So you have to be careful. And that's it. Yep. That's where I'm going to end this video and start the next one. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next video.